Metley from AP. Mike is coming.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to apologize in advance for asking a very, very basic question that is going to betray probably my ignorance on the topics that you guys are discussing. And that is, you all have been at this for 2.5 years now. You don't seem to have produced any kind of a serious result. I mean, yes, there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of talk, but just on Monday, the U.S. and the U.K. signed a bilateral AI safety agreement. What is the hurdle to reaching one between the U.S. and the EU? And if and when something like that is agreed upon, can you point to what would be a tangible benefit for Americans and Europeans from that? And then, Secretary Blinken, I have to ask you about just briefly on Gaza, and that is whether or not the steps that Prime Minister Netanyahu's office announced earlier today, opening new border crossings, are enough to meet the demands that the demands that you've put on the government to improve conditions. And do you still need to see, or do you still need to see more, at least in terms of protection of civilians and aid workers? Thank you.
I would say if you look at where the U.S. and the EU were 3 years ago with respect to our collaboration on issues of technology and trade, it's nearly night and day from when the Biden administration began until today. And the TTC has played a core role in that, in the way that we have managed trade irritants. Let's remember when we started this administration, we had 232 steel and aluminum tariffs, and that issue has been resolved, among other issues. It resulted in the speed with which the U.S. and the Europeans got together after the war broke out to lead a coalition of 36 countries to level export controls against Russia was in large part due to the collaboration of the TTC. Yesterday, we announced the conclusion of our work as it relates to job training for tech workers because of AI. So I think at a high level, the TTC has been indeed very successful in bringing our partnership together. By the way, we share the largest and most sophisticated trade relationship in the world, and to have that strong collaboration underpinning that is vital. With respect to AI, I've traveled to this TTC with the new head of the U.S. AI Safety Institute. She's been on the job for 6 weeks, and she's here in Europe. We've already launched a dialogue with the EU AI office. So that is, again, a result of TTC, and we will continue. We will continue to do that work. So there's so much more to do. As I just said, technology and the use of emerging technology has changed the game totally in economic security and national security. AI is changing the game, again, for everything. And AI collaboration between their office and our Safety Institute is strong, will get stronger, all led by the TTC.
Well, I love that kind of question because it allows me to talk for an hour and a half about all we have achieved. But inspired by Gina being so succinct, of course I will have to limit myself. One of the first things we did in the first TTC was to align on how we view artificial intelligence, to agree on an approach of being risk-based. So not to approach the technology as the technology as such, and since we got started, oh my God, it has developed. But to look at the use cases. Is it a risky use case or a non-risky use case? And I think that has shaped the approach from the very first day. We've had the AI roadmap that has been developed in order to put this understanding into something solid. And the most recent thing is the dialogue that we both think will lead to something much more tangible when it comes to the cooperation between the US Safety Institute and our AI office. And I think it's a great thing that we forged these collaborations, both with the UK and the US, eventually probably also us with the UK. What we are starting here is something that we consider to be somewhat broader in scope, because it is not just testing, it's also everything that comes with it. So benchmarks, methodologies, how to understand, interpret regulatory approaches in both jurisdictions. So we embody on something that is larger. And the second thing, which has a lot to do with artificial intelligence, is of course the work done on semiconductors. And here from the very first day, focusing on why did we have the shortage? From that understanding, building an early warning system. We have used that when export control was levied against us. For instance, on geranium, and what was the second thing? Well, never mind. And now we have just renewed the working arrangements on semiconductors, and we are taking the next steps when it comes into legacy semiconductors, what they call essential chips, which will remain with us with the cutting edge for decades to come. So it's just to say that the results are tangible. And I think one of the good things for citizens is that where we, in the beginning, diverged on platform regulation, we are now in a much more collaborative manner. When it comes to AI, we have had an agreed approach from the very first day. And I think that the likelihood that that will produce artificial intelligence that you can trust is so much bigger. Because artificial intelligence holds immense promise if the negative sides can be controlled. And for me, an obvious negative side is sort of the existential threat for the individual as of today. If you are not allowed into university because of your color or your background, if you cannot get a mortgage because of AI not recognizing you, all of that we can deal with. And I think that has very tangible effects on everyday life.
Matt, to your question on Gaza, we welcome the steps that have been announced by Israel, opening Erez as a new crossing point, having shipments go directly from the Ashdod port, maximizing the route from Jordan. These are positive developments, but the real test is results. And that's what we're looking to see in the coming days and in the coming weeks. Is the aid effectively reaching people who need it throughout Gaza? Are the bottlenecks and other delays at crossings being resolved? Do we have a much better system for deconfliction and coordination so that the humanitarian workers, the folks who are delivering the aid, can do it safely and securely? All of these things are critical, and that needs to, again, really be measured by the results. And some of the measures that we're looking to include things like the number of trucks that are actually getting in on a sustained basis, and not just getting in, but then getting around, the aid being distributed throughout Gaza, including, critically, northern Gaza. Some of the measurements that we've been deeply concerned by, including the fact that almost 100% of the population is acutely food insecure, that they're indicators of potential famine. We'll be looking closely at those to see that they're reversed. So really the proof is in the results, and we'll see those unfold in the coming days and the coming weeks. Relatedly, it's also critical that we see an independent, thorough, and fully publicized investigation into the killing of the World Central Kitchen team who were performing heroic work under the most difficult circumstances in trying to get assistance to people who so desperately need it. So we're looking to see that investigation, we're looking to see a public accounting, and we're looking to see accountability in its wake. And this goes to a larger challenge that we've seen throughout, which is the horrific number of children, women, men, innocent children, women and men, who've been killed through the course of the military operations. We've talked about this many times, the unique challenge of dealing with an enemy that embeds itself with the civilian population that hides behind them, underneath them, in tunnels, in mosques and schools, apartment buildings, but Israel's obligation, its responsibility to maximize protection for civilians, to make that a priority, that too is a critical test. So what we're looking to see in the days and weeks ahead is prioritization, surging humanitarian assistance, sustaining it, getting it to the people who need it, making sure that those who are providing it are safe and secure, and maximizing every effort to protect civilians, those who are caught in this crossfire Hamas is making. We just can't have so many people caught in that crossfire, killed, injured, going forward.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for one last question. Kim, please.